Today we are making vegan dump and go sheet pan meals. These recipes are simple and delicious, and you don't have to spend as much time doing dishes. And who doesn't love that? So today I want to show you how simple it is to just swap things out and make it vegan. We'll start with our barbecue chicken sheet pan meal. And instead of chicken, we'll just simply use soy curls. We'll preheat the oven to 400 degrees. You can use parchment paper. I'm just gonna quickly spray my pan, and then we will add sweet potatoes. I just have one sweet potato that I've chopped up with my awesome chopper, which made it really easy. And then I'm just gonna put this in the oven with a little bit of salt first. Nothing complicated. Good, everything's salted. Move it around, and we'll put this in the oven really quick. About 15 minutes. Now I'm going to take this bag of soy curls and use about half of it. I'll rehydrate the soy curls in water for about 10 minutes. While the potatoes are cooking, those are gonna rehydrate, and I'm only using half the bag. If I was cooking for my whole family, I would use the whole bag. But to put everything on one sheet pan, we're just gonna keep it small. While this is rehydrating, I'm going to take my mandolin with red cabbage and just slice it up. I'm not gonna do the whole thing, so I don't have any special gloves because I'm not going down very far. I just love having a mandolin. It makes this so much faster. There we go. Not too much, just about a third of my small cabbage. And now we'll use some sweet baby broccoli, just these broccolinis. And I'm just gonna cut off the ends so they're ready for our sheet pan, and then wash them as well. And you wanna pull off some of these flowers. Any type of broccoli works. We're just mixing it up today with this kind. All right, it is time to drain the soy curls. And there's two steps here. We want to not only just drain them, but we need to squeeze out all that excess water. Really squeeze it out. Use your muscles. That way it can absorb the barbecue sauce that we'll put on top of it. It's been about 15 minutes, so let's take the potatoes out of the oven. Okay, let's flavor the soy curls. So we'll put the soy curls back into the bowl, and then you'll add your favorite barbecue sauce. I'm just using Stubbs barbecue sauce, but any type of barbecue sauce works, whatever one you like, and we'll stir it around. We will add more after everything's cooked, so you just want it nice and covered so it's cooking with the flavor, and then we'll add more after. Okay, let's plate our sheet pan. Now these potatoes are not all the way cooked, they're just about halfway cooked, which is perfect. So then everything will be done around the same time. We'll place all of the sweet potatoes on one side, and then we will add in our red cabbage right next to it. Next, we'll put on those soy curls, separating everything so we can get nice and crispy. And lastly, we'll put on our broccoli. Okay, let's season it. Let's give it a little bit extra flavor. I'm just gonna season everything with some garlic powder, including the soy curls, and some onion powder. You can never go wrong with garlic powder, onion powder, and salt. I'm gonna add a little bit of extra salt to the broccoli, and then a little bit to the potatoes and cabbage. All right, now I see the potatoes are getting a little bit dry, so I'm just gonna spray them just a little bit, spray everything just to prevent it from getting dry with some cooking spray. Let's go ahead and put this in the oven. We're gonna let this cook for about 15 to 20 minutes. While my sheet pan meal is cooking, I actually made some quesadillas with the white bean queso sauce that I made a few weeks ago. It is seriously so yummy, so good. And by queso, I mean nutritional yeast, white beans, cashews. And it makes it really easy to have quesadillas since I know my kids don't love barbecue sauce. My older kids will eat the sheet pan meal, and my younger kids will have some quesadillas. They're really good. Okay, it's been 18 minutes. Let's pull this thing out. Oh, my beautiful, look at that. So gorgeous. Look at this beauty. Option to add a little bit more barbecue sauce if you feel like it needs it. I don't think it needs that much, so I'm just gonna drizzle a little bit on here. I'm also going to garnish with some fresh cilantro. Okay, now to plate this, I'll just grab potatoes, the cabbage, and the soy curls, and then the broccoli. And you just kind of eat it in one big bowl. There we go. The beauty of this meal is you can reheat it for the next day, and I actually like to recook the soy curls in my air fryer so they're nice and crispy the next day. You can also put this in a wrap, which is incredibly delicious.
That was yummy.
Next, let's make a gnocchi and tomato sheet pan meal. And for the protein source, we're going to use tofu, but if you don't like tofu, you could easily just use white beans instead. Start by preheating the oven to 400 degrees. We'll first start by prepping the veggies. So I have two different packages of tomatoes. This package, the tomatoes are more like cherry tomatoes, and I'm gonna keep these whole. And then this package, the tomatoes are much bigger, so I'm actually gonna cut these into fourths. And then the juice from these tomatoes will help keep the whole dish a lot more moist. So we'll chop these up. Then we will slice a small onion. I'm just gonna cut these lengthwise so they're a little bit bigger chunks. And then we'll add some garlic. This is about 3 cloves garlic. We're gonna mince our garlic. Now we are ready to put everything together. At my local grocery store, Lidl, I actually have whole wheat gnocchis, but whatever gnocchis you can find, if they're not whole wheat, that's fine. So you'll just take 1 package of gnocchis, add them to your pan and spread them out. Make sure that they're all separate. Then we'll add in the tomatoes. This is where a lot of the moisture will come onto the pan so they don't get too dry. And it's a lot of tomatoes. It's just a little bit more tomatoes than gnocchis, ounce per ounce. So I want to add my whole tomatoes as well. About 16 ounces of gnocchis, 20 ounces of tomatoes. I'm not using this whole package, just about half of it. Then we'll add our onion and the garlic. Then next we'll add some tofu. So this is extra firm tofu. I am not pressing it because I'm just gonna pull it out. I'm gonna start with a half a block first and just crumble it. I want it to be really crumbly because I want this to feel more like cheese than tofu, as if it was mozzarella cheese on this dish. Who's cold? If you wanted to add the whole block, you definitely could. I just want to make sure that everything's separate and not too overcrowded. Try to fill in the blank spaces with the tofu instead of just piling it on top so that the tofu gets cooked. Hey, real quick, have you signed up for my free 1-week meal guide? If not, make sure to click on the link below so that you can have a full 1 week of vegan, whole food, plant-based recipes delivered straight to your inbox. And it even includes a shopping list. Next, we'll take about 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning, and instead of measuring it out, I'm just gonna sprinkle it evenly across the entire sheet pan. It's around 1 teaspoon, again, totally fine if you do a little bit more. And then I'll do that exact same thing with the salt. I'm gonna take salt and just evenly distribute about 1 teaspoon, maybe a little bit more, just salt the whole pan. Same thing with my red wine vinegar. This is going to be closer to about a tablespoon, but it's just a little drizzle across the pan. I don't want to have to mix this up, so I want to make sure it's just evenly distributed. This will be our liquid. If you are a fan of spicy things, you can add just a little pinch of red pepper flakes. Again, according to your taste preference. About a half a teaspoon. And last but not least, we'll add in some olives. I love the taste of olives. We're gonna sprinkle that can of olives evenly across the whole pan. If you don't like olives, just leave this part out. Now we'll also add spinach as well as basil, but that's after everything's cooked. So we'll cook this in the oven at 400 degrees for 30 minutes. All right, it has been a little over a half an hour. Pull this out. Oh, yummy. Those tomatoes have caramelized. Perfect. All we do is add the spinach on top. So I'll open up my bag of spinach and I'm just gonna sprinkle it on top. And then we'll put it back in the oven for another 5 minutes just until the spinach becomes wilted. All right, let's put it back in for 5 minutes. While it was cooking, I went and clipped some fresh basil from my garden, and then we'll top it with this. And here we go, let's mix it up. This smells amazing. Like, I really wish you could just come to my house and smell it. It smells so good. It's crispy, it's juicy with these yummy tomatoes. Crispy tofu pieces, yum. Now this is totally optional, but you could drizzle some olive oil on top if you're not avoiding oil. Now here's the best part, is all of that basil. So good. Even looking at it now, I'm like, I still probably could have added even more tomatoes because the tomatoes just really make this dish so yummy. This is such a good one. This is such a yummy meal. So fresh and delicious. The best part is no one even would know that that's tofu. I love to kind of hide in tofu so it doesn't seem so scary. The gnocchis, the tomatoes. It is so good. This is so good.
This is so good.
And our last sheet pan meal will just be tofu and veggies. You can find a ton of recipes online for chicken and veggies, and so instead of the chicken, we're just simply swapping it out with tofu. Honestly, out of all of these sheet pan meals, this one is the one I make the most because all I have to do is open my fridge, pull out some tofu, and then check to see which veggies are about to go bad and use those. It is my go-to sheet pan meal, and I'm gonna show you how I put it together. We'll start by preheating the oven to 400 degrees. I want to use potato wedges in this dish, but I don't want to wait for the potatoes to cook in the oven. So I'm actually going to slice them and then put them in the microwave to just pre-cook them so it goes fast. Now I do want to salt these now because the salt will stick to them a little bit better before they're cooked. So I'll add the salt. And let's put them in the microwave for 6 minutes. Next, we'll prep the tofu. Sometimes I'm lazy and instead of pressing the tofu, I just take it out of the package, wrap some paper towels around it, and call it good. Squeeze a little bit, and that's pretty good. Let's slice and dice it. We'll put it in my bowl here, and we'll add in the flavor. We'll start by drizzling the tofu with soy sauce. I don't measure, I just make sure that everything is coated. And I shake it around. I don't want to see any white parts. Then we'll add in some nutritional yeast, some garlic powder. So we'll mix that around. Again, just making sure everything's coated. And we'll finish it off with some cornstarch, just a little bit. I have messed this up before by adding too much cornstarch. So it does help if you want to measure it out, just about a tablespoon, no more. There we go. And then we shake this up. You need to add in some hands, looking like I need my hands to get in there. Mix it up until the cornstarch, the white parts go away. That's important, or else it will continue to be dry after it's cooked. There we go. If needed, you can always add more soy sauce to give it a little bit more moisture. All right, let's put this on our pan. Now I am going to spray this pan just so nothing sticks, and then we'll put on the tofu. I'll add the veggies later, but I first want to cook the tofu before I add in more veggies. We'll place the tofu in the oven. So here's the trick. I know I preheated the oven to 400, but I'm actually gonna broil on high for about 5 to 10 minutes just to crisp up the tofu. I'm gonna watch it while I chop up my veggies. And then I could put everything on the same pan and cook it all together for 15 to 20 minutes on the 400 degrees. So again, I am broiling it right now on high. Just keep an eye on it. Okay, so now let's prep our veggies. I'm just gonna cut off the ends. We got our asparagus nice and washed and prepped and cut. I'm gonna pull out some sweet peppers. If I had mushrooms, I would grab mushrooms. I really love mushrooms. I'm gonna add in some red onion. I love onions when they're cooked in the oven. They're just so good. We got our veggies. Let's check on the tofu. See, look at that. They just crisp up so much faster on broil. It's so amazing. All right, let's pull this out. See, nothing burned, totally fine. We just dried it out a little bit and now we can cook everything on one pan. So let's cancel it, turn the oven back on 400 and prep our pan. I took the potatoes out of the microwave so they're ready to add. And we're just gonna move all of our tofu to one side, flipping it while we do that as well, so that this next side gets crispy. We still wanna leave some room. We don't want the tofu stacked too much on top of each other. Separating everything, flipping it, separating it. All right, next let's add in our asparagus. We can keep those stacked. Then our peppers and our onion. Try to separate the onion. When I cook this for my family, honestly, I use 2 pans. Sometimes even 3, just so that we can, because I'm doing 2 blocks of tofu, but I want to show you just how simple it can be to do it on 1 pan. I just have a big family, and I know not all of you have as big of a family as I do. All right, let's finish up with the potatoes. These are gonna get so crispy and yummy. They're like almost completely cooked, but not quite all the way through. So it's perfect. All right, now let's season everything. So I'm gonna do salt again. Maybe I'm gonna add a little tiny bit of salt to the tofu, not too much though. We'll add in some rosemary. I love rosemary with potatoes. If you wanna add the rosemary on the veggies, you can too. And some nutritional yeast. We'll add more to the whole thing, perfect. All right, let's put this in the oven for another 20 to 25 minutes at 400 degrees. Okay, the tofu and veggies are done. Oh my gosh, this is delicious. Yum. The secret to this dish really is cooking the tofu a little bit beforehand and the potatoes a little bit beforehand. In the microwave, in the oven on broil, and then everything can be done together at the same time afterwards. These potatoes are so good. Veggies, potatoes, tofu. Always a big hit in our house. If you love these recipes and not having to spend tons of time washing a ton of dishes in your kitchen, then I know you'll absolutely love all of my other dump and go videos. So make sure to check those out as well, because who wants to spend a ton of time doing dishes? Not me.